Hey guys, I'm Daniel here at the Comic Bug in Manhattan Beach. Seems like regeneration is kind of a crapshoot. So, I'll be talking to you about Series 9, Episode 4, Before the Flood.
Spoilers.
You know, Isaac talks about concept, and I'm going to say this right off the bat, what a concept this one was. First part of the episode, or first part of the two-part episode, was Under the Lake. That essentially is the what. Now, this episode was the why, and when I tell you as to finding out the why, it was great. Essentially, it's a bootstrap paradox, or causal loop. If you're a Whovian, you know exactly what a causal loop is. You've seen it before with Amy, Rory, and River versus the Angels. You've seen it with Amy in the Pandorica, and you've also seen it during Time Heist. Remember the part with the phone call? That's exactly it. That's the great thing about this episode. As far as the concept, it goes from one portion to another, and it brings it all together. That's what made it great. So, for concept, I'm going to give this a 5. Moving on, story. One of the coolest parts of it was actually the Doctor breaking the fourth wall and actually speaking to us as if we were companions. I don't know about you guys, but when it comes to me, being a Whovian, the Doctor speaking to me, I lost my shit. It was great. The Doctor actually explains what's going to happen and gives us exposition in the same speech. That's what made it great for me. But also along with that came the whole paradox. I know I talked about it earlier, but when it comes to the paradox, a lot of people didn't like the fact that it was even used. It wasn't utilized in the same way that we do remember it from when it comes to the Pandorica. The Pandorica was almost an absolute perfect paradox use. This one, some people say, it's what they considered lazy writing. It feels like a lot of people just didn't even like it because of that. We've seen it before, but we've seen it before done better. This time, it could have been done a lot better, but it wasn't. But for me, I expected not as much as I did get, so I was happy with it. When it comes to story, I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 hashtags. Now, for a breakdown in characters, the character development, or at least the character interplay, was rich in this episode. We got to actually see the Fisher King get a connection as far as a cat and mouse game with the Doctor, and it was intense. There was a moment where they had a conversation, or a monologue, essentially, of the Fisher King, telling the Doctor exactly who he was, and how the Time Lords themselves finally discovered that they had teeth and began to actually bite and become a warlike society. That was interesting. And then for the Doctor to play off of it and back up and actually be surprised or taken by surprise, not even knowing that the Fisher King understood exactly what the Time Lords were. But one of the most interesting parts for me between that connection was seeing how great and how perfect his interaction was. We were actually not just seeing the introduction of a monster in Doctor Who, but I feel the birth of a villain. We didn't see him die. I think he'll actually show back up. It should be good. Now, moving on between that, we have the other characters that some people didn't care too much about, but I loved. There was Cass, who essentially is the deaf individual that did sign, and her interpreter. They had a love connection, but she did point something out to Clara, and she asked Clara directly, well, traveling with the Doctor, did that make you change? Truth of the matter is, that's something that a lot of people don't think about, but yeah, it does change her. She was willing to sacrifice so many people, but not for the reason that we would expect. Not to go ahead and solve a problem, but just find the answer to a question. So in some ways, she's becoming more like the Doctor than she even believes. Sometimes she's not even valuing the whole ideal of human life because she just wants to figure out a mystery. That may be something that comes up later with Clara. Maybe even the reason why she leaves. Now, moving on, we still have Bennett and O'Donnell. Bennett and O'Donnell were very interesting because it was love lost, star-crossed lovers that never really connected, and we never knew exactly how much Bennett cared for O'Donnell until she died. That's when he tells us, and that's when he brings Cass and her interpreter together. But O'Donnell did something interesting by actually telling the Doctor, Do you remember all these other things that are happening while we landed in the 80s? We had all the other things that she cited. The most interesting was the Minister of War. Sounds like she's dropping a seed for something that we'll see further down the line. But we have to wait and see. But characters, I'm going to go ahead and give it, out of 5 hashtags, let's go ahead and give them 5. They were good. This episode brought a lot of expectations for me. 1, I need to see the Fisher King again. And if I don't, Moffat, you're going to hear from us. 2nd, I need to have the little twinge that I noticed in the intro as far as the guitar. Capaldi can play the guitar all day, just not all through an episode. But I need to have something as far as a little bit of a difference on the intro of every episode. That would be great. I also expect to know what's going to happen with the Minister of War. That was a great seed that you guys dropped, and most likely we'll see it come to fruition at the end of the season. But mostly, I just want to go ahead and see great episodes. You guys are doing a bang-up job. 4 episodes in, every one of them was good. So, for this episode, I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 hashtags.
This is called the Bootstrap Paradox. Google it.
Isaac, I hope I did you proud. This regeneration is working out pretty well. I'm Daniel at the Comic Bug here in Manhattan Beach. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for everything trending in geek pop culture. Bye, guys.